Hello again. Alright, so this is video 2 in my series on how to think and our ability to think and be happy. Originally, I just did the introduction and I was going to do my first video on focus, but I think I need to clarify some terms going forward because I'm not only talking to people who will automatically agree with me. People that will already say, yes, I understand there's a problem. Yes, you put your finger on the problem like a million other fucking people. I'm talking to everybody. And that includes faith. It includes everybody. So I want to get some terms. First of all, it's how our ability to think and be happy. So let's describe happiness. In this day and age, we are convinced that happiness is tied to possessory. There was a line in one of my favorite shows where our hero is talking to a new person, a new individual from a culture outside of his understanding. Their culture does not own things, though it turns out the person he's talking to really wants to own things. And this person asks him, to what end does possessory well serve? And his response is mine. That's a great question. What kind of happiness does possessory or the acquisition of something new and shiny or whatever it is, maybe you like new and rustic, I don't know. Yes, we can do contradictory terms like that, new and rustic. Is that the key to your happiness? If it is, I'm going to suggest that you don't fully understand what happiness is. You understand gratification. You understand ego. You understand, and it's not an entire slam because one of the points to wealth is freedom. If you have the money, if you have the means, you can live your life how you want. But to do that in our society, in our system, your freedom, yes, due to your cleverness, your diligence, your hard work, your effort, your cleverness, all of that. Yes, you get the freedom, but at the cost of other people's freedom. Now, I live in a country where we believe that freedom is a right. That we all have it innately, that we all deserve it. I hate that word deserve. And one day I will do a video on that, but that it is a human right to be free, to be able to speak, to be able to think, to be able to be happy. It's in our Constitution. The pursuit of happiness. I'm going to just lay it out there that others are going to understand that is not happiness. That happiness comes from accomplishment and a sense of inner peace and security. Possessory is not the key to happiness for everyone. And to be perfectly honest, it's not the pursuit that is doing us the most good. The pursuit of happiness that is doing us good is the kind that leads to service, that leads to the lifting up and developing of other individuals. While somebody like me who has been alone for decades, who thinks the way I do, who has the focus I do, can find happiness in solitude, true happiness comes from having people behind you that believe in you or that believe in what we collectively are trying to accomplish. I could make a video right now, do everything the way everybody says they're supposed to do it. Millions of people like it. Everybody watches it. Hurrah! Yeah, You can pursue happiness that way, but that is just self-gratification. The pursuit of that is just self-gratification, or trying to find a way to be acknowledged. That's the struggle. That's not, while it can feel like the end game, happiness, the struggle is not the result. All right, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, and I want to do a separate video on this, but I'm just trying to get the terms. When I talk about thinking, new term, I am talking about our ability to focus, our ability to clearly work on the problems that are presented to us, the ability to block out distractions and focus, the ability to utilize what goes on in our lives to generate flow states, the ability to comfortably mind wander, which is vital to happiness, but so easily destroyed, which leads to nothing but suffering. So thinking is our ability to focus, our ability to flow, and our ability to mind wander to make connections. That's what I mean when I'm talking about thinking. Evolution as another term. See, now, as soon as I go on with evolution, I start to lose a large portion that are faith-based. And I want to make this perfectly clear. When evolution was introduced to us, it was introduced by two simultaneous faith-based thinkers. Their thinkings were based in a view that is discovering in nature things that glorify the Creator. That's the origin of both people who presented us with the theory of evolution. And what was done with this theory, God knows why, but what was done was to use it as a form of realizing or understanding our world that was not tied to having an intelligent designer. And naturally, the people that believe, that have faith that we have an intelligent designer, fought back. What nobody understood was anything beyond 6,000 to 10,000 years ago is an irrelevant argument that cannot be proven with our limited availability of resources. Cannot be proven. It can be strongly believed in, it can be finely outlined, but what we are doing is the vast majority of people who believe in evolution as a worldview are treating it as a religion. So naturally, the other religions that it is a natural opposition to, apparently, are fighting against it. What should have happened is very, very clear from the release of Dawkins' book in 1976 of The Selfish Gene. What he discovered was something called memetics. You're all familiar with memetics, or memes at least. You see them on a daily basis. You are distracted by them. You are inspired by them. You are frustrated by them. You're annoyed by them. They're freaking everywhere. But what he did was see that as a means to destroy something he thought was irrelevant and harmful to our progress. And by doing that, he did nothing but get the ire of the people on the other side, which is why I want to touch on this topic right now. This term of evolution, I am talking about micro. I don't care what happened before 10,000 years ago or 6,000 years ago. It does not matter. It is not relevant to my discussion on our consciousness and ability to think and be happy. What should have happened from the faith side of this view or argument, is they should have understood that there is evidence in microevolution, the adaptation of species, the development of ecologically sound systems that function properly, our ability to understand them, that is all microevolution. That is all adaptation. That is evidence that a creator works this way. That is understanding or further understanding of the motivations and processes of your Creator. Fuck anything beyond 10,000 years ago. It's irrelevant to anything that is in our face right now while we are isolated to this one ball. When Dawkins debated religious leaders, he thought he had the reason that he had evidence that shows God was not necessary. They fought against that. They didn't realize he was showing them, if God, then there is evidence of how that God operates. Because microevolution is provable. It's everywhere. They do it in labs. We do it in nature. We have limited it. Like when I drive through the country to go to work or whatever, I know that I am driving through an ecosystem that has been beaten down and narrowed and limited by us so that we can function more easily. But that is still evolution. That is us working against it to make it more feasible for our productivity. But it is evidence of how, if we are created, that God thinks, works, and is. When Dawkins coined the term memetics, he was not only showing, all right, so memetics, in evolution, there is survival of the gene. All adaptation leads to or furthers the survival of a gene. That's how evolution works at its most simple. Genes propagating, genes surviving, genes moving forward. Dawkins' theory was that in culture, there is something similar called a meme. In culture, memes try to succeed, they try to thrive, they try to survive. And that is everything from fire to anything. Everything is a meme. It is a unit of culture that is fighting to survive. Whether that unit of culture is religion or business or education or whatever. All of these things have all been developed over time memetically. Our entire educational system in the United States was rebuilt for the Industrial Revolution, and all of that is memetic. Everything about the Industrial Revolution, everything about human understanding is all memetic, is all been propagated, passed on, grown, and that's the growth of knowledge. That is memetics. Now, one of the things I'm going to talk about is a bicameral mind. That was a theory proposed in 1976 by Julian Jaynes. And again, I believe that he had respect for the historical faith documents like the Bible. I believe that he didn't believe that he didn't believe in them the same way that the faith-based would believe or do believe in them. But he tried to come at it with a respect. What his theory is that we were once, in our process of evolution, in our growth, we were once bicameral, not conscious. We were noble automatons that we could, and his book does it, explains it far better than I do, but there are and have been enormous amounts of psychological, philosophical, biological experiments to try and understand consciousness. If I had a team working behind me, I could put up flowcharts of the ridiculous nature of these experiments. I mean, we have tried to isolate consciousness, we have tried to define it, we have tried to pigeonhole it, we have tried to expand it. All of these experiments that we have done, and we have done some ridiculous things, from trying to trick people and understand placebo effects to, it's just me, so you don't get that lovely information, but either way, the bicameral mind is a theory that is unprovable without time travel and I'm not someone that believes in time travel, nor that I think we should do it. But for the faith-based, the people who would see this as opposition to what they believe, what their worldview is, what their worldview dictated by God should be, understand that if there was a bicameral mind, it is pre-fall. What he is describing is the mentality we probably had pre-fall, before fallen world. Understand that if we can find evidence of it, and whether we call it religion or whether we call it evolution or whether we call evolution religion, if we can find evidence for it and we were created, then we are finding evidence that describes our Creator. So when I say bicameral mind, if you are of a faith persuasion, understand that what I mean is pre-fall. What we were before, let's say, Adam and Eve ate an apple and gave ourselves self-awareness. Some people think original sin would have been sex, but original sin is self-aware consciousness. That is the difference between what we were and what we are now and what we have done to ourselves. Being self-aware is original sin. If there is original sin, that is it. But if you don't believe, if you're not coming from the religious perspective, understand that to treat these things as a religion, as if it is your faith, you are making the same argument the other side is making. So that's evolution and bicameral humanity. Religion. Look, I'm a person of faith. I believe there is a purpose. I believe that there is, I don't know so much that there's a purpose. I believe that there's an opportunity. We were given one thing. There was a reason why we were given this one thing. I personally believe our history is longer than 10,000 years and that there has been intercession. There has been attempts to try and straighten out this wayward species that is humanity. There have been guidelines introduced. There have been direct impositions from things or a God that is beyond what we understand right now. I believe that we will have an afterlife. That all of us, well, I guess maybe, according to my beliefs, you could eliminate the possibility of an afterlife just by not believing in it. Or you could just get a rude awakening. Either way, I'm trying to be clear that in the past these debates have been had and they have caused animosity. And that animosity has blinded us to possibilities. What I need you to do is understand that I'm trying to broaden possibilities and allow you to be able to think and find happiness easier. That is the purpose of this set of videos. All right, so consciousness. The definition of consciousness is an organic process, mimetically fueled, leading to a unique, individual, self-aware mind space. I would like to do a video on nothing but the topic of the afterlife. But it's not relevant to this series. Understand that when I say it's an organic process, I mean that your consciousness is still developing. And it has been developing as long as you've been aware of it, and it will be developing until you're no longer aware of it in this form. I would like to do a video on the afterlife because understand what that means. That means your consciousness is not the brain matter. It is the electrical impulses passing through the brain matter that is you. The brain is the the engine or tool you have available to grow in. That is what allowed you to become yourself. That is what allows you to become something more. That is what allows you to become petty and something less. We are the impulses, the patterns, not the brain. The brain's very useful to us. It's necessary. But it is part of our body, which is us. But you are that network of impulses. The pattern of electrical movement inside your brain, your organic matter. The reason why you don't get a whole lot of understanding about what happens after you die, because the people who come back and should be witnesses are not creating impulses in that brain. If that consciousness is gone, they're not creating memories of it in this gray matter we have with us. If they are making progress or doing anything at all, it is happening in some other vehicle or medium. You save their lives, they come back to this medium, they go on much like they did before, with maybe something new to contemplate. If we do die and go on to something else, anything we learn there is being learned in a different vessel. Our impulses, I don't think that it is accurate that there's no way to create or destroy energy, just change its state. Seems a bit naive, just at the outset to it. But I am someone that does believe that what we do here now affects and will influence what happens to us after now. That is because, well, it's natural, because I'm someone who understands or thinks he understands consciousness on a mimetic level, which means everything about us is mimetic. It's all about what is changing and growing in us. When I say mimetics is how we're fueled, I'm talking about that's how we grow to be racist. That's how we grow to be sexist. That's how we grow to idolize heroes and despise villains. It's how we grow to understand how they became heroes and how they became villains. It is us. That is the terms that I wanted to lay out there. That is what I'm working with for now. It's rough and I'm probably forgetting it because now I'm just becoming ambitious. I'm not limiting myself anymore. I'm just going to go forward with this stuff. I'm in a position today where I can talk. My thinking is clear. I am motivated to do so. So I'm not going to hold myself back by constantly editing what I say as I say it. Those are the terms I think are important to understand. When I use them, this is what I mean by them. I understand that I understand that there's no way I will get perfect agreement. I understand there's no way I will convince you perfectly that I can do that for everybody on a broad spectrum. But I want to build a world. And I don't want to just build it with people who think like me. I don't want to build it with people who look at the world like me. I want to build it with a diversity that doesn't seem conducive to our current world. Look, I've come up with a solution as a construction worker. My solution is terribly simple. Let's fucking build it. We know what needs to be built and how it needs to be built. Let's build it. And people like me are very diverse. There are many of them that are faith-based. There are many of them that are angry and frustrated and distracted, as, you know, I'll discuss when I start talking about focus, which will be the next video, I swear. Those are my terms. Thank you.